Alright guys, today we're going to go over how you can actually make money from Airbnb without owning any property or putting money down. Now, I've been doing Airbnb for several years now, and there are many different ways to do it. It's a great source of extra income. So let's jump into the first way. That would be through rental arbitrage. So what do I mean by that? Essentially, what you'd be doing is finding properties that are listed on websites like Zillow, Craigslist, Trulia, that are for sale. And the criteria you want to look for is properties that have been on the market for a little while. It depends on what, where you're at on the amount of time. But let's say, for example, 2 months. That's in some markets that's a long time for it to be vacant, rental property. So you'd find those properties and you'd reach out to the owner and you'd let them know that you can have that space occupied immediately and for a little bit higher rate than they're asking for. And of course they're going to ask, how? Like, sign me up. And that's when you tell them that you're going to rent it, but you're going to sublease it through Airbnb, that you run a professional Airbnb rental company. Now, in my experience, a lot of them usually have questions, but they're for it for sure because it gets their property generating cash flow. Otherwise, it just sits there vacant for who knows how much longer. And it's also bringing them additional revenue because you're offering to pay a little bit more, maybe $50, $75 per month. And you don't have to do that, but I found that it usually helps for the ones that say no initially. So I've kind of been offering that automatically just to get the deal in some cases. Anyways, so that's one way. Another way, actually let's back up. So they might have some objections to it. Not everyone's going to say yes. So for the ones that say no, just be sure that they understand that that Airbnb does offer rental insurance in addition to the insurance that's already on the property. And also, you're going to be charged in a deposit. You don't have to, of course, but you definitely should. That way, if any incidentals happen while someone's visiting, that deposit will cover it. It also helps weed out some of the people that might have bad intentions at these rentals. So definitely let them know those things. You can also let them know that you know what you're doing. Now, if you don't have any feedback or anything, if you've never done this, you definitely want to know your stuff, so that way you can convey your authority in this process by knowledge instead of showing feedback if you don't have any yet. So that's one way. Now, you'll definitely, as far as money needed, you'll need some for a deposit, and you'll also need some for the furniture. But that's it. You don't need to acquire a property. You don't need, so the money invested is quite low. The second way, which is less risky, is through subletting. Now, you'll go to Craigslist and you'll find people that are subletting their place out. That means that they signed a lease somewhere, let's say for 12 months, and for whatever reason, they're needing to leave in the middle of the lease. So you'll take it over for them. Now, the reason these are good is because typically you can get a discount on the rental rate. It's usually less than the market rate because they don't want to break the lease because they're responsible for it. So they're willing to offer concessions typically. Another reason it's good is because the lease term is usually a lot less than a traditional minimum 12-month lease. So that means that you can get a place for below market value for a 3 or 4 month lease. And the reason I like 3 or 4 month leases is because sometimes you don't know if a property is going to work or not. That is one potential downside. So with 3 or 4 months, lease, the potential risk is quite minimal compared to a 12-month lease. So those are two ways that you can get involved with Airbnb without needing money down or needing a property. You will need a deposit though, but otherwise you definitely don't need a whole lot of money. So let's talk about numbers real quick. These places typically will lease out for a little over $100 per night. And I typically, it depends on the market, but I typically see occupancy at around 22 nights or more, like maybe let's say 24 nights on average. So that means that it's pulling in an extra 22 on the low side up to like $2,500 a month in revenue. Now, after you net out your lease cost, which is, you know, depending on the market again, but for example, where I'm at, for the same rental property that I'm getting $2,400 in revenue, I'm paying $1,300 in rent. Plus you add a few hundred for utilities, and the net profit is really nice on these. You know, on some months, you know, I'm hitting $750 per month for each property. So obviously, you know, there's a lot of opportunity with doing this. And if you're doing, and these are places that I've acquired and I'm rented out. Now, if you're doing a sublease type place, then, and that's what I recommend when you're first starting off to kind of learn the ropes. Obviously, you might make more per month because you're paying less. You're paying less than market rent. So there are a lot of little things that you can do to help really maximize the amount you get per night on these rental properties, and I can definitely cover those items in another video. So with that being said, I hope this helps you see the ways that you can get properties and make money on Airbnb without buying anything. Now, I will make more videos, and if you have any questions, definitely leave a comment below. There are other strategies that I can definitely cover, so just let me know if you want to see them. And if you're new to the channel, my name is Josh. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I definitely am involved in a lot of different businesses, and I make videos and I cover how to do this. That way other people can replicate my success. And